How's it going, everyone? Soul Tigress with a new moon in Gemini and a full moon in Sagittarius interpretation. So, Gemini, this new moon just happened on the 26th. We got third house energy here, which is relating to one's environment. It's networking, it's learning, it's information. The saying for the Gemini frequency is I think. Mercury is the planet that represents them. So it's going to be a lot of mutable, positive, masculine energy that's happening. Stuff that we need to progress from. We need to put an end to, but we also need to progress from there. Not just saying, hey, that this is it, we put an end to this and then we stop doing anything. No, it's about keeping going. And the Gemini frequency represents the air. So a lot of thoughts, a lot of mental, but also a lot of heavenly, divine connection. A saying that would match up for the Gemini frequency is there's two sides to everything. As above, so as below kind of thing. We have South Node energy here as well. Our South Node, if you've heard about that, the South Node represents the energy of your past lifetimes, but it also represents where you've been at. Like, if you've been in the same spot, you haven't done much, you're still doing the same thing, you're still in your South Node. And the goal is always to want to get to the North Node, to get to our purpose, to get to where we're meant to be. So this time around for the South Node energy is being separated from ourselves, not having great communication. It could be with others or it could be with ourselves directly. So let's get into the mythology. Gemini twins, Pollux and Castor, born from a Spartan mother, each having a different father. So where Pollux's father was Zeus, the king of Sparta was Castor's father. Both the boys grew to be deities for sailors and traders and also cattle rustlers. Castor would have been the one who was the more gentler out of the two, whereas Pollux was the first one who was ready to fight. So what happened is on the last mission that the boys had embarked on together, Castor was unalived and Pollux was just completely torn apart by losing his brother. And that he wished to perish. He didn't want to live anymore without his brother. And so Zeus had to be like, okay, son, calm down. Let's make a deal. Let's get it going. A part of this deal, though, was if Zeus was to grant Castor to share in his brother Pollux's immortality, the catch was neither brother could be at the same spot at the same time anymore. One would have to be in heaven, the other have to be on earth, and they would have to switch when they wanted to change wherever they were at. Again, never being in the same spot together. So the dueling sides to this sign brings with this new moon energy. We are going to be facing ourselves for this next lesson, bringing to balance both versions of ourselves, the lover versus the fighter. Ooh. Remember, this sign highlights how we communicate and how we think. A lot of times we can sabotage ourselves because of how we think and how we communicate with ourselves and with others. Sometimes taking things out on ourselves that are in our environment and out of our control. Air signs thrive in routine. What happens, though, if the routine is the very thing that's holding us back? Or is the very thing that's doing us in? This house of Gemini, representing broadened views from different extremes, is going to bring what I feel like this time around through love, light, and compassion is a way for us to find time again. What? What do you mean? Do you ever notice when your mental state is all in a awry, it's going every which way, you're overthinking? You can't focus. You can't bring yourself into the immediate moment because your thoughts are everywhere else because you're stressed out. Do you notice how you lose time? You notice how mere seconds turn into hours. Hours will turn into days, and all of a sudden so much time has passed and you're like, what the hell happened? Becoming balanced out of our extremes to become more present in the moment. Remember, the Geminis are at two different spectrums. This is why I talk about those different extremes and bringing that balance into the middle. Remember, just like the brothers need each other, we need our dualities and different extremes to help us, to grow us, to help us learn, to help teach us how to protect ourselves. Just know we can't strengthen our divine and heavenly connection without first facing the tests and trials of our journey. I think this time around, Gemini highlights the direct divine that we have within ourselves and within the ones that we love. Whew. So then we shoot to the full moon here, which is gonna be the strawberry moon. Any of y'all been next to some gardens lately and seen how those strawberries are looking plump and juicy? Ooh wee. I love food. I'm not gonna lie, I love it. It's awesome. Strawberries are awesome. Anyway, so the full moon in Sagittarius is due to happen around June 11th. So this is going to be 9th house energy right here, searching for meaning, but also broadening viewpoints, travel, religion, and philosophy. Now, the planet to represent the Sagittarius frequency is Jupiter. The saying for Sagittarius is I see. Again, heavy, mutable energy this time around, putting an end to something. Now, this is where we have fire energy right here. So, a lot of times for me, fire energy is charisma. We got to keep it going. You have to feed your fire. If your fire doesn't have air, then your fire can't breathe. Again, if your fire has too much air, then it can't get lit. So it's bringing a balance to our mental state to help our charisma, to help the things that we're searching for. Let's keep going. So with Sagittarius as well, with this full moon coming in, I feel like it's going to play on our egos a lot, our good ego versus our bad ego when it comes to the tests and trials that we're facing this time around. Our good ego is going to find humor in things. We're going to want to find the entertainment of stuff. We're going to want to be optimistic, and we're going to prize wisdom over everything, what we're going to learn. But with the bad ego, our reaction kind of ego thingy going on, we're going to find that a lot of crudeness, a lot of wild wanderers, wanting to wildly wander. There we go. Always seeking adventure and freedom from all restraints. Reckless, irresponsible, and excessively blunt. So I think with the bad ego, our challenge is going to be knowing who our audience is. And when we can't recognize who our audience is, who we're talking to, because we're in such a reactive stage, we're in such the way where we're leading life through the bad ego, that's when we can be looked at as reckless. That's when we can be looked at as irresponsible. And then with the trying to break free from the restraints, freedom really being expressed here, wild wanderings, seeking adventures, that talks a lot to me about escapism. trying to get out of somebody's cage, or what you feel like is always the cage through your interpretation of what's going on around you. So this is a lot of North Node energy. So with Gemini, it's where we've been. With Sagittarius, it's where we need to go. So what this speaks on is truth. What is your truth? What sets you apart from the crowd? The very thing that makes you an individual. Some people will spend their entire lifetime playing hide and seek with this truth. That's no lie. I'm sure y'all can name a few people. I know I can. So let's talk about the mythology. Chiron was a renowned centaur among all the rest. Known for his kind heart, his wisdom, so many trusted him to raise and teach their sons his ways. He taught some of the greatest of the greats when it comes to the Greek mythology. Well versed in combat, medicine, philosophy, to touch on a few things. Not many know of how Chiron came into knowing so much and even having immortality. I honestly didn't know this next part until now. So you can always learn new things, even about old things, which I thought was interesting. It was said as a baby, his mother was embarrassed and abandoned him. The Greek god Apollo had adopted him as his own. With the help of his sister Artemis, helped teach Chiron many things that will make him stand apart from all the rest of the centaurs. Basically helping him create the foundations that made him this great individual. Chiron mentored many, even a god here and there. Unfortunately, it was a mistake that will bring him to his end with a poison arrow that accidentally hit him, and it was by one of his pupils too. Would I pick up from the experience of having so much Sagittarius in my chart, but also from being raised with Sagittarius and raising a Sagittarius myself? Let me tell you, the siblings I was raised with, one male Sagittarius, I had a female Sagittarius, my daughter's a Sagittarius. Yes, let's go on a little tangent right here. My mom's a Leo, my father's a Leo, my son's a Leo. Yeah, and I'm an Aquarius. Talk about lots of fire. Woo-wee. But I'm an Aquarius and I have a lot of Saggy in my chart though, so I could keep up. Anyways, so growing up with a lot of Sagittariuses, even raising a Sagittarius, and me having a lot of Sagittarius in me, there's a point, it feels like, in every Sagittarius life where they feel like they've been abandoned by someone close to them, or someone that they feel like should have been close to them. Depending on each individual will depend on how they evolve from this. Some will climb the social rankings of the levels that they're at. So if they're in a low frequency community, instead of evolving out of that, some will climb the rankings in that community. Whereas others will move forward with reaching for higher insight. A good example is not repeating some of the same mistakes that were done onto you. Like Chiron, instead of dwelling in the shame of others rejecting us, how can we move forward with the higher guidance of the divine beliefs? Both Gemini and Sagittarius energies show how things out of our control will happen to us. That these very things are not meant just to divide us from everything that we feel we should be. Instead, bring lessons that ask us to create a strong bond with ourselves and with our soul beings. Getting in touch with the divine channel, because like I said, we have to learn how to tune into it. The divine channel that we all have within us to help further our beliefs, to help further our growth on this journey of becoming an individual amongst the crowd. Through the different variables in life, learning how to stand 10 toes down in love, light, and compassion of the divine, creating trust in the flow of karma and dharma. Ooh, if you fight the flows of life, if you take the different variables, the things that you felt like was unfair, out on yourself throughout your life, you handicap yourself from doing anything else, from moving further, from seeing beyond that bitterness, the holding of the grudges kind of thing. And there you will reside in insecurities, fear. You'll have a lot of just not being able to make the changes. There's a lot of procrastination in that energy. There's a lack of feeling like you have control. And see, when that happens, then there's a fear of speaking. Then we feel like, what's the point? What is the point in speaking up? What's the point in saying how I feel? And then from there, we start to think that this is all we get. And that we don't deserve anything better, and that, what happened to us in life was meant to happen. But we take it again with the bitterness is that we're not good enough for anything else. And when you reach that high of a level and that kind of communication with yourself, that's when you start to really tune out of the frequency of the divine, and you start to tune into the negative, dark energies. Ooh, ooh. Ooh. That's why I think this is really important that these two cards even come up like that. Whoever created this deck, they did a really, really good job. It's Yasmin Boland. Let's show you right there. Let's see if it'll focus. There we go. Anyway, so they did a great job, because a part of it is learning how to communicate with ourselves, with our different sides. And a part of getting to that is, again, going into that north node, looking at the bigger picture on things, especially the things that we're taking out on ourselves. So let's go ahead and do a little bonus thing. See what it is that's going to come up. What is the advice? What is it that wants to be said from the guides here? Angels, ancestors, spirit guides. What is it that needs to come out? So one thing that pops out is there's something that we could be not wanting to deal with. Something we haven't quite put to sleep yet. Something that we're even at odds ends with. Look at that. It has to do with communication. Now you have to ask yourself, when you are communicating with others, are you actually listening to them? Are they actually listening to you? Or are we just both reacting to each other? Am I just reacting to myself? We do that too. How can we take a broadened view to that? How can we see it from another side? Maybe from our earthly side and how we feel about it, how it makes us feel. Something that we're not seeing. Two things is always partying and jackpot. Remember how we talked a little bit about that escapism when it comes to the bad ego? Wild wanderers always trying to break free of the restrictions. Maybe in this type of environments that you put yourself in, that's where you find that you have the most fun. That's the only time where you feel the most alive. Oh, well, that's not fair to you in a sense. What do you do with the rest of your time, the rest of your week, the rest of your days, the rest of your hours? If you only get, say, 4 hours out the week where you actually feel alive, and you have to do activities that take you out of the sober mind to enjoy it, then are you really enjoying it? This is very interesting. Could be on the other side is get out, do something, have fun, smile, understand that what's happening, yeah, you can make a list of everything that's going wrong. You can keep overthinking it from every view. But regardless, the flow of life is going to happen. Remember that dharma karma kind of thing? Don't take away from yourself the celebrations. Could be even the little achievement, the little jackpots that you're gaining right now as well. Those are two different interpretations right there. Alright. Oh, that's interesting. Oh my gosh. So some of these cards did come out in the pre-shuffle. I find it interesting that they're coming out now. This jackpot. Crying over you, sad, hurt, upset, etc. I don't know, there could be a sense that you feel like you'll never win at something. That no matter how much you try and force a routine to work out, force something to work out, force people to see your view. Let's see. I guess it falls a little weird. Because it almost falls like it seems like it's on deaf ears, but in a sense there's something going on here to where others maybe could see it, maybe could just be at odds ends with it. This is definitely interesting. Let's get one more card for clarity. What is the clarity card here? This has to deal with this. Yeah, so that you're at little odds ends when it comes to this. Be careful of compromises. That's what I get. Be careful of forcing yourself to compromise. Forcing yourself to compromise for the only way to get this jackpot, whatever it is. Person, place, or thing. Because, you know, you may just end up settling and being a part of the pack. Remember, this time around, it's about what separates you from the pack. What makes you that individual. What it is that you've worked on for so long that has you up to the par that you're at right now. Be careful when it comes to dealing with others. That's the thing. Be careful. These others could be fishing for stuff. These others could be trying to, again, have you settle for a position that you never originally wanted to play. You have to ask yourself, are you ready to settle for this? Is this what you want to settle for? Is this where you want to celebrate? Is this actually your jackpot? because I don't see that here so far. I see somebody who is struggling with their individualism in a sense. That's what I say, and it's because you're surrounded. You're surrounded. But that's okay, because they're trying to mistaken you for a sheep. You're no sheep. So what do you do with all of this? What would be the sound advice coming from all of this is, again, standing 10 toes down with yourself. Being honest with how things are making you feel. If an expectation's not working out to the jackpot, you can't find your celebration here. Again, unless you join this pack, you have to figure out, is that what you really want? Is that what you really want? Even running with this pack, being a part of this pack, person, place, or thing, is it worth the overthinking, stress, and overanalyzing here? Are you able to be that individual? And what you're forcing, what you could be compromising on, could be the things that are making you feel restless. Could be the things that are making it hard for you to focus on something else. So that's something to think about here. I don't think that it's all about what the guides are trying. How do I put this? I don't think it's about looking for the message just from the guides here. Again, this talks about our connection, our truth, what makes us an individual. So for this time around, what I interpret for this type of energy is almost like our guides, our ancestors, the divine, the angels, universal energies are like taking a little step back. They want you to step into yourself a little bit more. And with any great teacher, they let us learn through the things that we're facing instead of trying to prevent us from learning this lesson. How are you going to learn more about yourself as an individual if you are not able to fully submerge yourself into this experience? Even if you mess up, even if you get it right, even if you don't understand, you're still going to make it out of it as long as you try. But the thing is you're going to recognize yourself more as an individual and why you're doing the things that you do, why you have the certain preferences that you have. And again, all of this has been learned through the time that you spent on this journey. All right, so this is going to conclude it. I'm so happy to be doing this again. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, and your patience. And I hope that you have a most wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.